Let's talk about the ROG Ally. So I've actually been going back to my ROG Ally after installing a 74 watt hour battery into it, and I think this handheld is absolutely amazing and holds up very well even in 2025. Now it's been about 2 years since I got the ROG Ally, and I've made hundreds of videos on it because this handheld broke the boundary between handhelds and consoles for me. I think this is a full-on handheld that can handle graphic fidelity similar to consoles and gaming PCs. Playing games like Tekken 8 at 1080p with ultra graphics without any kind of stuttering or slowdowns is a sight to behold. And naturally, I'm using the ROG Ally that has the Z1 Extreme chip inside of it, so we have about 8 teraflops, and comparing that to the docked Nintendo Switch, that's about 2 times more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 2 while it's docked, and 8 times more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 2 in handheld mode. But of course, optimization is a thing, and a lot of these games you're going to play on Steam and other platforms on PC won't be super optimized for the ROG Ally, and you're going to need a little bit of tinkering to make the games work. But even with some of that tinkering and going into the AMD website and getting specific drivers in order to make games like The Last of Us 2 work properly, and occasionally you have to go into Armory Crate and mess around with the VRAM in order to get specific games to work, similar to how you would with Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Steam Deck. So there were times where I played on the Steam Deck, and because I have so many plugins installed for that system, it would have massive slowdowns because there's a limited amount of RAM, and ROG Ally deals with the same amount of problems since it only has 16 gigabytes of LDDR5 RAM, so it won't be as fast as the faster and increased RAM that something like an ROG Ally X is using. So there are times where games that you expect to work wouldn't work on the ROG Ally, which is very unfortunate. But comparing the 10 games that won't work on Windows 11 to the 10,000 that will, and amazingly at that, is an easy sacrifice to make with a handheld like the ROG Ally. And after using my Steam Deck for a little bit, I tend to go back to my ROG Ally after installing the 74 watt hour battery because I tend to get 4 to even 6 hours of battery life with the Z1 Extreme. So let's say I have 10 watts running on my ROG Ally, that's the equivalent of 12 to 13 watts of power running on the integrated CPU in the Steam Deck. You're just going to get more performance for those 10 watts. But if you go below those 10 watts, that's where something like the Steam Deck will perform better with lower TDP.